Hello, and welcome to another brand collab. You can call me Mr. Collaborator. Today, we'll be doing a double feature of sorts. First, we have this, the Godox iT22. And second, we have this, the Godox TR Riser. Really, these two go together. Like that. And in this case, I have the Godox bits for this Canon camera, or for Canon in general. This is an eTTL2 compatible flash. As is tradition, we will begin with the disclaimer. A representative of Godox reached out and asked if I wanted to have a look at some Godox gear. We chatted and landed on these two items, the iT22 and the TR Riser. I was sent these to review. I did not pay money for them, and once the review is done, I'm keeping these. Disclaimer over. With that, let's have a look at more flashes. What is the iT22 and the TR Riser? Starting with the iT22, it's another ultra compact flash, a mini flash if you will. The IT series, unlike the IM series flashes, are TTL flashes, and the iT22 has multiple variants supporting Canon, Nikon, Sony, Fujifilm, and Micro Four Thirds. You may have noticed that a company is missing if you looked at the other IT series flash, the 20 Ricoh. That is not an option if you want the iT22, only on the iT20. I'm looking at the Canon variant, as I said previously, and there it is, all nice and tiny. Let's generally discuss the flash specs. It has a built-in lithium-ion battery, 7.4 volts at 300 milliamp hours. It'll charge via USB-C, and that port is right here. It has a charge speed of around 3 watts, which is quite pedestrian, but fair given the size of the battery, being it's small. The stated number of full power pops is about 700 flashes, and the recycle time is 1.5 seconds at full power. You can manually adjust the output at 1:1 down to 1/32, and it only weighs about 52 grams. The MSRP for the flash is $44.90 US dollar dues, or 62 Canadian buckaroos. In the box, when you get the flash, you will obviously get the flash, but you will also get a little carrying bag. Look at that. You can carry things in it. You will get a USB-C charging cable. And you'll get 3 lighting modifiers. You get a warming one, a less warming one, and a flash spreader. And they are magnetic. But now I know you want to know, what is the TR Riser? Wow. It's actually something that I think should be standard with these flashes, but it's not. It's an optional extra. This is it on its own. It is a tiny little extender that slots between the flash and the camera body. It passes the signal through to the hot shoe, and if you get one of these, you need to get the one that matches your flash. So don't get the Fuji one of these and a Canon one of these. Get the Canon one for the Canon. You get the point. But what it does is that you get a little more heightage, 36.3 millimeters, or about 1.43 hinges. But wait, there's more, and arguably more important for me. It lets you do this. Boop. You can now tilt your flash up to 90 degrees. Thus, you get some bouncage, which is pretty cool. And You can adjust the tilt angle in 6 positions. They're about 15 degrees apart, going from 90 to 0. And there are some other things as well. You don't have to use the iT22 on the flash extender. You can actually use any flash. It is recommended, though, that you keep the flash under 300 grams. The MSRP for the riser is $18.90 USD or 19.90 Canadian. What? Huh? $1.10 more for the Canadian in Canadian buckaroos. If you want to know more about them, I'll link to both their pages on the Godox website in the description below. Operation and feel. First, I do want to say I like this flash design, even without the riser. It still sits kind of high for one of these little mini flashes, so that's nice on its own. And the build quality of it is pretty nice as well. Even though it's only 52 grams and it's pretty light, they found the time and effort to put a metal hot shoe on it, which is always appreciated. Now, I do want to say when I do use this, I basically exclusively have it on the TR riser. And the riser itself, similarly, is fairly solidly built, and when the flash is on top of it, it does feel fairly stable. The angle changes are no problem with the weight of this flash. I mean, 52 grams, it's not much, but you're not going to notice any sagging or anything. And overall, it's also fairly well made. The only thing that's kind of weird that I don't like, which has to do with the way it connects, is when you tilt the flash backwards from around 45 degrees or so. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but we'll try to angle the camera down. Oh, yes, you can. There's a little reflective orangey thing. The ribbon cable carrying the flash signals is just kind of there, and it's not really protected. I would appreciate it if there was something covering that. The way it looks right now, it looks real vulnerable. All right, back to the flash. Let's have a look at this. The flash has a power button, and it is right on the side. It also doubles as the flashed test button, so if you press it while it's on, you'll get a test pop. Next, you have the mode button. This lets you easily toggle between TTL and your manual modes, and you have a plus minus for adjusting the output power in either mode. It's fairly simple. You may have already noticed it, but the flash has a tiny little info display. There it is. And yes, it is really tiny. I was able to measure it, and it comes in at around 12.5 millimeters across, just about half an inch. Now, in spite of how small the display is, I find it's quite good. You can pretty easily see it, and the text on it is relatively legible. It shows you a couple things. Generally, you have your power level, and if you diddle the plus or minus, it'll show you your flash comp, exposure comp, and you can see there is a battery meter there, and over here you have an indicator for whether or not the flash is ready. And right now you have a tiny lightning bolt, which means the flash is ready. Additionally, if the flash gets hot, that switches to a tiny thermometer. So it's good to know that the display displays things. The display is generally good, as I said, but I did notice that overall the panel is a little too recessed into the body. I find that if you're not looking at the flash display directly head on or at an angle like this, and you're looking at it top down, some information does get cut off. And it's more of a mild annoyance more than anything, but sometimes I did look and wonder what happened with the display. Then I remembered, I gotta angle it this way. So yeah, it's a mild annoyance, and really if you just keep that in mind and try to look at it this way or dead on, you'll be fine. Either way, even if you do look at it top down, it's not like it's unreadable. You can still generally see what mode it's on and what's going on. You'll just notice that the top of the characters are cut off. When I had the riser on an actual DSLR with a viewfinder, I realized that if I tilted it back this way and I went to put my head at the finder, you may have noticed it's touching my head. So this is really probably not meant to be used with these. It's probably meant to be more used like this, looking at your rear display from a distance, so you're not banging your head against the flash. Just an FYI. In spite of my tendency to meet the flash head-on, I actually liked this riser and flash combo. It is a bit refreshing to see the option to tilt and bounce the flash. I'm not a direct flasher. It's just not my thing. When I use it, I almost always have the flash at least at a 45-degree angle. And I would set the flash power at... Wait, I missed a spec. What the heck is the output power of this thing? Well, as it turns out, it doesn't say. The website doesn't say it. The manual doesn't say it. There is no reference to the actual output power. Not in guide number, not even in that terrible unit watt seconds. Why? Godox. Please, why? Give me some info. Anyways, we'll get into this in the next section, but I just wanted to bring that up. If you try to look for output power of the iT22, you will not find it. It's not there. That being said, I found that as long as I kept my expectations realistic about the power output, it's very small after all, and adjusted ISO and aperture as needed, I could generally have fun with the flash. But it's still weird that there's no indication of really how to use it, right? The usual thing, at least if you're not going to give guide numbers, watt seconds, that kind of stuff, some ranges, a field of view maybe, that's not there. It's very annoying. Are you just supposed to intuitively know? Maybe. Maybe you can look at this and you instantly know it's a small flash. I should probably keep it no more than a meter or two away from my subject. I don't know. But I don't like it. It makes things harder for me because I like numbers. I almost forgot one thing. The lighting modifiers. As I said, they're magnetically attached. And overall, I actually think it's a pretty great system. Look at that. Just snaps in. I'm not gonna lie though. I initially kind of discounted these as just gimmicks. But then I played with them. And it turns out I'm a fan. I probably should have been using flash modifiers earlier in my life with my other flashes. That's alright though. At least I eventually learned they're pretty cool. The included ones are quite nice. Now, this is the warming one. It's not the darkest one. There's a even warmer one. I found this too much warming. But the lighter one they give you is just right for me. It, for me, augments the flash output just enough to kind of blend in with a lot of other light sources. I like it, is what I'm saying. And I'll talk about this other one, the flash spreader. That I found is just a way to lose more output power. So I didn't really use that. Either way, we'll have a look at the effect of these modifiers in the sample gallery when that comes up. Testing the claims and discovering the output power. Okay, so in this part, we are going to go over the claims that Godox makes about this flash. And we're going to be using the webpage and the manual to see what they say. However, before we do any of that, let's calculate the things they don't say. Let's find the GN value. And as I said, they didn't give a watt second value, they didn't give a GN value, so whatever numbers we find here, I don't really got a reference point as to how close it's supposed to be, since, again, not stated. The procedure for this is going to be the same as what I do with other flash reviews. I will set my flash up 1 meter away. I will be using a Minolta Autometer 4F, also set to ISO 100. I will set the flash to full power, which simplifies things, and it makes the formula for GN super easy. GN will equal 1 meter times the flash meter reading. Therefore, it'll just be the flash meter reading for the ISO 100 value. In this case, I did a couple pops at full power, and eventually the GN value I calculated, or that I read, was 4.5. With the flash spreader, this reduced itself down to 2.8, which is very weak. This makes this flash the weakest flash I've tested to date. And I mean, fine. It's got more power than the built-in flash on the M6 II, but really, there are actually other cameras with built-in flashes that have more oomph than this mini flash. So it is really quite a tiny flash. Now, I also wanted to test something interesting, or at least I found interesting. This is the first flash that gave me detailed information on consecutive flashes before overheating warnings. Other flashes usually just say, do not do any more than 100 pops. Don't do any more than 50 pops, or you'll have to wait for it to cool down. But this one broke it down into a table. So it had maximum, or your output power to the number of pops before overheating was about to happen. And you need to wait for it to cool down or accept a increased wait time for your flash cycling. And it actually said that if you continue to shoot after the over temperature thing comes on, you will experience slower than normal recycle times. And it could be as long as 10 seconds between flashes. And for what we're going to do, I'm going to just test at full power. And for that, it said that I should be able to do 40 full power shots before it overheats. And then it recommends that you wait for 10 minutes to cool down before it resumes fully normal operations. That's actually a lot of nice information. I like that. Next time, please give a GN value, please. But otherwise, the manual is pretty good considering how tiny this is. For what I was doing, let me just explain how the setup was. For this one, I'm doing it in my basement, so it's a little bit cooler than upstairs. The basement is at 18 degrees Celsius rather than the 20 that I normally work at. And yeah, in this scenario, the flash exactly gave me 40 pops at full power. Then it gave me a heat warning. And I did discover that, yeah, when you wait 10 minutes, it'll give you 40 more pops. But then I thought, what is this a conservative number? So I then tried it again and only waited 4 to 5 minutes. And the flash gave me 40 more pops. So I think that number is pretty conservative. And I will also say that the flash itself never really got hot to the touch after those 40 flashes and then letting it cool down, even if it was only a 4 to 5 minute cooldown. Next is the cycle time between full power pops. I timed how long it would take to do 10 pops in a row. And for me, that came out to 17 seconds. Pretty close to 1.5 seconds for refresh. I imagine if I had better reflexes, I might be closer to that 1.5 second refresh interval. Now, that being said, the recycle performance was not consistent through the whole charge. I did notice that as the battery ran down, cycle times did increase. While the flash had 2 to full bars of power, it would generally hit that 1.5. But when it was in the 2-bar range, and basically if you power cycled it and it didn't go back to 3 bars or whatever, it feels firmly in that 2-bar area, it increased closer to 2.5 seconds of cycle. And on that last 1/3 power bar, I was more or less waiting 3 seconds per pop. Next, battery life. This is surprising. The stated battery life is 700 shots. And I thought that maybe it might not hit that number. I was doing it at night, and I was just assuming that it wasn't going to hit it, and I thought I would get to go to sleep a bit early. But this thing endured 875 pops. That's 25% over the estimated total. That kept me up till around 1:30 a.m. It is quite impressive. Again, I didn't think it would get anywhere near there. And not because I don't like this thing or anything, but I noticed that on the first 150 to 175 shots, it dropped one of the bars on the battery indicator. So I thought, okay, we're already down to 2/3 and I've only popped around 175-ish. But it stayed at 2 bars for the next 400 shots or so before it went down to 1 bar. And I was able to ride that 1 bar for the remaining number of pops, which is insane. When it comes to field of view, again, this is something that was not published, and that's very annoying. How am I supposed to know how much flashing I'm doing to everyone around me if I don't have a field of view? So I tried to figure that out. I took some lenses, I plotted their field of views, and I placed my flash down, and I placed my flash meter at the edges of where the frames were. And eventually it came to be that I think the iT22 is able to manage about a 24mm full frame field of view. Now, I will say I didn't continue to do this test beyond multiple ranges. I only had it set at 1.2 meters and then swept around with my flash meter until I saw that the output power of the flash that was hitting the meter dropped to, or dipped beyond about half a stop from the normal reading dead center. So I don't know if this is a normal way to test it. That's just how I'm doing it. So I also did this again with the flash spreader, and it turns out that around 11mm is about the maximum for where this flash would cover. Lastly, I tested the charge speed on the USB port. Now, I know 3 watts, nothing super blazing fast. And I'll be honest, my little USB meter actually never saw it hit 3 watts. It only really charged up at around 2.3 watts, which is a bit off. But at this point, I'm actually not sure if it's because it actually wasn't sucking down 3 watts or if my USB meter is just inaccurate. So I would still basically say that the flash speed is slow. Keep that in mind. But again, the pack is really small, so it's not an absurdly long amount of time you're waiting to charge this up. Recommendation and conclusion. This flash and tilt combo has been interesting. So let's start with the good. With the tilt adapter, I honestly think this is a pretty awesome combo. I think that this flash with the adapter should just come as standard. It really increases the versatility of these little tiny mini flashes a lot. Being able to just angle the flash back and not get direct, harsh, terrible light at your subject was a pretty nice thing to have. I know I'm weird though, and now that direct look is in, but if you're also weird, this is a lovely, lovely feature. Additionally, the flash modifiers. Again, these little things, they were way more fun than I thought. I really did love adding the little warmth to the images. And the magneticness of it made it extremely convenient. And you could just leave it snapped in there or chuck it in the little carrying bag. It's so small that really it doesn't take up any space when you're carrying around this flash. And it really surprised me how dialed in this light warming one really is. It didn't look overly ridiculous. Overall, just for me, enough. Plus, these lighting modifiers for this flash, it's pretty cheap. I don't remember how much it was. I think it's under 12 USD. Again, that'll be in the link down below if you want to have a look. By the way, none of these links are affiliates or anything. They're just for this thing, so I don't get a kickback or anything. Just an FYI. Right. Next thing I liked about this thing, controls. It was pretty easy, and at least on Canon, I found that the flash was pretty reliable. And of course, this only applied when the flash had power to spare. Again, the low GN number does mean that I had to generally be pretty close, and when I was even a little farther away, I would just pop it in manual mode, set it to 1:1 to just see if this flash was giving me full power, and I realized most of the times it was. It just wasn't able to illuminate what I wanted. But one thing I will say that's nice is, yes, even though it's weak, it is versatile and controlling it is fairly easy. Hopping in and out of the manual mode or automatic is trivially quick, and the adjustments are perfectly well done on the little buttons on the back. Lastly, endurance. 875 full power shots is nuts. Even if they're kind of weak, I would never have expected that something this small would be able to pop that many times. What I think needs improvement though is documentation. For the most part, there was a lot of stuff in the documentation which I liked, but really the important things aren't there. No GN value, not even a watt-second thing, no field of view. I really don't get it. Why would you not include this in information about a flash? Ideally, you'd at least have something to give you a general idea of what are the useful ranges to use this thing in, even if you don't put it in a GN table. I'm maybe just untalented, and I can't intuitively know from a couple pops what are the good ranges for my flash, and I do like when information is provided so I can use it and utilize it and not guess most of the times whether or not the flash is going to be able to illuminate the thing. And I get, this is a TTL enabled flash, so really you can let the camera do all the work anyways, and you can move yourself closer to the subject if it isn't able to work out. But as I said, it doesn't even state the field of view, so if you have a lens that is too wide, you won't get even coverage and things will look not good. So at a minimum, more information about general flash performance should be included on things like this. It shouldn't be me finding the numbers and putting them in a video like this. I should only be proving them. Next, output power. At ISO 100, 4.5 is quite tiny. as I said, this is the lowest power flash I have reviewed to date. And there are SLRs and other mirrorless cameras that have clip-on units included on the camera or with the camera that have higher values than this. And if you have a look at the M6 II, I can also tilt that back and get basically similar functionality as this. Whoa, I dropped the modifier. So yeah, I would have easily given up the 875 shot endurance for a little more flash power. As it stands now, when I use this flash, I always generally have to bump the ISO up to compensate for the lack of flash power. If they could get it up to something like GN8, I think this would be much more useful. It could at least be as powerful as built-in onboard flashes on other cameras. Admittedly, on the M6 Mark II, it is more powerful than the one on here. But this is not a high bar. Look at that. That is a sliver of a tiny flash. In the end, I would personally only recommend this thing if your camera doesn't already have a clip-on flash or a built-in flash. Or if you want to use a flash that has the easy magnetic modifier system, because it is really cheap and quite fun to play with. And additionally, this is, without the riser, about as compact as other clip-on flashes that come with cameras. So there are some pros to using it. Now, let's talk about the TR riser. This is something I can wholeheartedly recommend. Since it's really just a pass-through, if you have another flash that is small and fixed and under 300 grams, you can just shink it right into there and give it a tilting ability, and that's awesome. Plus, at under $20, it's really cheap and worth having if you want to play with more interesting flash effects other than straight on. That's all I got though. Thanks again to Godox for giving me the chance to review this stuff. But let me ask you again, do you like these mini flashes? Do you practice the art of strobing, flashing? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe a super thanks if you're into that. Till next time, bye.